Well, hey everybody, it's Carpo again, and doing this as kind of an addendum to my last video, which was about jack of all trades. There is a group of people. What's the word I'm looking for? Multipotentialities, multi-potential people, and when I made that video about being a jack of all trades, after I was finished with it, I started thinking a little more about it, and I did a little research. And it really gave me a feeling of comfort to know that I'm not alone. And of course I knew that. I know there's a lot of people that are hardwired for this type of mindset. But I didn't realize to what degree society had, left that idea of, the old idea was jack of all trades, master of none. But that didn't exist until the Industrial Revolution. Before that, it was jack of all trades, master of information, master of knowledge. What happened was we started getting on the straight and narrow and trying to figure out one career path for people. We were trying to create a society of worker bees. And it worked for a lot of the older generations, and up until today, it's still been working. People... it's just something as small as asking a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And something that small can make the child assume that there has to be something he's going to be when he grows up other than himself. And this is where we start to associate ourselves with jobs, careers. It's ridiculous to me, but I understand how people want to be recognized for being good at one thing. So for those specialists in items, that's their thing. But for us, it is a hardwired brain, a way of thinking, and it's something that some people have and some people don't. In other words, a person who is a multi-potential personality, like I am, will always be looking for the next thing. And sometimes we'll not complete a project, sometimes we'll get into something and totally lose interest. I waste money on investments, on buying things that I want to work on, my terpene projects, my plant projects, and tend to spend more than I make, on things like that because I enjoy them. It's a passion. But society frowns upon that and says, well, you can't find a path, you can't find a career. They just consider people to just be, whatever. Like they don't care. Total misinterpretation. It's, in the ancient times, it was the word called Polymath, which was someone who sought out really deep information in all of the categories in order to get a good grasp on a subject. So here's what I've noticed. I am a multi-potential personality. I am multipotentialite, is what they call them. There are websites just for these people. There's one called Putty-like, I found, which is just for multi-potential personalities, so we can discuss issues and say, how do I get past this? But the main concern ends up, this is the way, in a nutshell, ends up being, how do I make a living with my multipotentiality? And it's difficult because you have to jump from thing to thing, and the mind doesn't tend to want to stick to certain things very long, and you cannot force yourself to stay on these paths. My brain will not allow me to pursue an avenue that I see no fruition in or that I don't enjoy. I've tried to say, oh well, there's the old saying that, oh, you're not supposed to like work. Completely disagree. There are people who like every job out there. There's at least one person in every career field who really loves that job. There's probably porta potty pumpers who enjoy their job. It's not about the job itself, it's about taking pride in what you do. But one thing I wanted to address about this is something I've noticed about myself and others is that the little things in society don't bother me or get to me. In fact, they don't interest me. The things that people talk about in the office or on the job or just hanging out just don't interest me. So I don't find myself hanging around with that many people. And people who are like me understand kind of where I'm coming from, in the sense that it's not about being, better or superior. It's just about, they just don't understand. my frame of thought. I'm into so many different things. And so with my mind going from thing to thing, it also goes from subject to subject, which is why little things don't bother me. I was thinking about people who dwell on particular things, like maybe they're really obsessed with like misogyny and like the way that women are treated, or some guys with the MGTOW where they're just really obsessed about the way men are treated. Whereas, and there's all these groups that form either for or against certain ideas, and people come and go in those groups as they feel like they need to speak their minds on a subject. But generally, it comes and goes with people like me. Some people jump on a subject and they spend their whole lifetime either battling against something or hating something. And I think that ties into that same personality type as a person who is very straight and focused on say they can take one career, one path, one lifestyle, and live with that their entire life. Then when something comes into that life that is bothersome, sometimes they don't have the tools to deal with that, because that's something that's going to affect their lives forever because of the way that they live their lives. Because, well, I live this way, and this affects the way I live, and I'm not going to change the way I live to accommodate this difference, so I'm going to argue against it. Or maybe be very for something, but basically it's trying to convince ourselves and others around us that, I guess that we're, what's the word I guess I would look for? I guess we have conviction in our beliefs or our thoughts, that it's become almost a flaw for a person to change their opinion or say, oh, no, I don't like that. And I think with career paths it's the same way. A person goes off to college, sometimes they say, this isn't what I want to do, and they go off and do something else. Sometimes a person gets into a career in college and say, well, this is what I do now. And I'm stuck here. I don't have a choice in this. And you do have a choice. You always have a choice. There's no age to where a person says, oh, well, I've gone too far. I've lived my life this way this long. I might as well continue it. I think that there are a lot of people out there who have multiple interests, just like I do, but that are afraid to tackle the interests because of how their family or friends might see them, or the world might see them, as being, oh, well, you're just playing around. Now, hobbies are not playing around, and I think that's a major misnomer there. It's hobbies and projects are things that people do to gain deeper insight into life. I don't meet very many people that are really into a lot of subjects that are closed-minded or hateful or don't like people. It's those who want to explore the world, explore it all, everything, every avenue. I mean, if I hear about something, I'm like, what is that? I look into it, I research it. And sometimes it becomes an obsession for a while. And rather than seeing that obsession as something that's holding me back, I see it as something that's moving me forward. So the ultimate question comes, how do we utilize what we learn in all these different hobbies and trades in order to make ourselves financially secure, because that is an important part of life. For some people, they can take on mini projects and organize their minds to where they can, you're selling books over here and art over here and you're doing car repairs. I don't have that. I can't quite put it into, I have a hard time taking money from people, even when it's something that I worked really hard on. And I have to get past that. It's just something, I deal with it. If I've worked really hard, I have no problem taking the check for it, but I tend to give people deals. Like if I work on a project and I want to sell it for $50, and I'll say, oh, you're a bro, I'll give it to you for 30, 20, maybe just cover materials. But in that process, nothing's lost. The potential for income is lost. But the knowledge that you gain from that can be so much more. For me, it's been I used to sell necklaces. I used to make hemp jewelry and beads and stuff, and I would sell necklaces. I'd end up trading and giving them away and whatnot. Just enough to buy more beads so I could start over. And maybe one day I'll be able to apply it and make secure financial life out of my wide variety of interests. But I'm never going to get down on myself because of it. And now that I've seen that there are groups of people who are hardwired in this way, I can feel more comfortable knowing that I'm not going to go as far as to say, it's like if a person believes something and then they find out a bunch of other people believe it, then it kind of reinforces their belief. That's not how I see this. This is just knowing. I don't need any reinforcement, in other words, but it's nice to hear that other people have solutions and ways to get around this personality type. And I guess I never realized to what degree it was a personality type. And so for all of you out there who are, multi-talented people, embrace that and utilize it. And talk to others who are in the same boat. I have a couple friends who are into multiple different things like that, and I just realized that they are the ones that I tend to associate with, the ones I enjoy talking to. Because if I bring up a random subject about plants or records or working with metals or wood, they're interested, because it's something new to them. And often I can hold a conversation with a person who just has no interest in anything I have to say because they don't know anything about it. In my life, when somebody has something to talk about, I take total interest if I don't know about it because I can gain from it. I can be like, really? I didn't know that, I love to learn. Learning is my trade. Learning is my passion. But it's very difficult to make an income on learning. So we use that learning and apply it. I'm much happier being a jack of all. The quote I heard that I really liked was, "Jack of all trades, master of none, is often better than master of one." And I can relate. I would much rather know a little bit of everything than any one thing in particular. You can't master something without, thousands of hours, they say, of work in it. One guy says, bullshit. You can master anything in 30 days. Just if you put in the time and if you have the intellect and the ability and the drive to make it happen. I know carpenters who know more after a year than other carpenters after 20. It's because they're not doing the same thing every day. If a carpenter goes to work and he does, say a framer works building houses for 20 years, that doesn't mean he knows how to do finished carpentry. People think, oh, he's a 20-year carpenter, he must be seasoned, but he can't even put in baseboard. I've seen it a lot, but I've seen also the kids that come in and within a year they know how to do everything. That's application. It has to do with how much you can absorb, but it's applying yourself to the world. And the most important component is to not be afraid of who you are and not be afraid of how people view you. Don't let yourself be talked down on. You don't have to put up with people's shit. You can stand up for yourself when you feel like somebody's wronging you. Because often when we don't defend ourselves, it's out of fear that maybe we may be ridiculed or the other person may be right. But a person who's seeking knowledge is never afraid of being wrong. So if somebody, I've had so many people show me things that I thought were true, maybe true that weren't. And I'm totally open to that. And I think that that's kind of how career paths can be. You have a choice to make, but it's not necessarily the one sole thing you have to do. Never associate yourself with your looks. Never associate yourself, or I should say, never judge yourself by your looks. Never judge yourself by your career. Never judge yourself by how others view you, although to a degree we have to. Basically, if 9 out of 10 people are telling you you're an asshole, you might want to look into that. I think we've all seen the people who claim that they're, what they're doing is right and everybody else is wrong. No time for that. I don't have any time to argue that, because it must be really difficult to be a specialist in one subject and hear all the laymen talking about all these random stuff that isn't true, but really have no way to convey that. If you can't talk to a person on the technical level, if they don't understand the technicalities of it, it's very complicated. So that's why knowing the technical aspects of everything, knowing a wide variety, allows you to see things from many different perspectives. Not just, okay, I'm a computer programmer, this is how you do it, but be like, I'm a computer programmer, I'm going to program this, and I'm really good at it, but how is this going to affect society? What benefit will this have? What detriment may it have? To consider all angles before we apply, and having integrity and value in your life means that the products and the services that you provide in your life will be ones that are from true goodwill toward mankind and wanting to help. I've never been able to take advantage of a person nor wanted to. When people give me money, I can't take it. It's very difficult for me to imagine stealing from a person. But there are people who do it all the time, in very small ways. Sometimes it's maybe through, even stocks and bonds in the market, housing. But I don't get caught up in it. I just let it roll, Because when you get too caught up in it, it's because you're too attached to it. So we have to stop attaching ourselves to ideals, stop attaching ourselves to careers, and stop defining ourselves by the car we drive and where we go at night. And so I guess I'll leave it at that. I'm very proud to be a jack of all trades. I'm very proud to enjoy all the things that I do. And I'm still working on how to make it work for me financially. But in time, I'm sure I'll figure it out. There is a certain degree of motivation you have to put in. You can't just wait for things to happen. You can't just wait for things to fall into place. It takes an effort. And I think that's the part many people have, is these multicultural, multi-talented people tend to have a hard time sitting with one thing and getting it going. Money is not usually a driving force behind my actions. In fact, it rarely is. And that's difficult because I have a family, so I have to be able to provide. So we're all caught up in these little wheels and these ideas and our theories, and I think that the best thing we can do is just take an approach to it, a neutral approach, and embrace everything and learn about everything. So when we have discussions, we're not stuck trying to talk physics to a biologist, or trying to explain a math equation to a carpenter. It's a little bit of everything allows us to converse easier and to get along better. And so, yeah, I'm grateful to be where I'm at. Grateful to know what I know, whatever that may be. And I have so many damn hobbies. I like cannabis. I like carving wood. Oh yeah, I collect stereo equipment. I collect records. I work with different terpenes and essential oils and volatile compounds. I grow my garden. I enjoy things like glass blowing and you name it. It goes on and on and on. And reading, writing, stories, herbs, medicines, all this stuff used to just have me like, what am I going to do? How am I going to pick one? And I don't have to. And neither do you. Don't settle for what society tells you is important. Don't settle on being a number. And I know this has been, people have said this over and over, don't buy into society's crap, don't buy into what society's selling. I don't mention that too much because society is us. So society is a reflection of all of us. So it's not like you can't opt out of society. You are part of society. You have to learn how to integrate. And it's difficult when most people think that things are a certain way and they're not. But stick by your guns, and you know what's right, and follow your heart. And all of us can figure this out together. At least how to live a decent, happy life without fear, angst, or self-pity, or associating ourselves with something that we think that we are when we're not. So, namaste, everybody, and this turned into a long-ass video, I guess. I'll stop it at 20 minutes. Twendo! Twindo, yo. Namaste.